Ladies and gentlemen, what is up, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be having a look at the early data mine abilities for Punisher 2099 and also Carnage, who are going to be the two new characters supposedly added to Marvel Contest of Champions next month. Like MCOC Mod and Tricos, they haven't been wrong yet, so we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And also a huge shout out to Tricos for digging up this information. I imagine sometime, maybe like Tuesday, Wednesday next week, we're also going to have the MCOC Mod gameplay video, and also numerical values for the characters. But today I wanted to do a bit of an early impressions video at the abilities, kind of without any numbers and stuff, to see like roughly what these characters are going to be able to do, and then make some predictions as to how we can effectively use these characters and what in Marvel Contest of Champions they're going to be super good for. But anyway, let's start off with Punisher 2099. So out of the two new characters, I think Punisher 2099, he has a lot more of the community's hype at the moment. Reading through all the stuff on the forums, Reddit, like he's the much more hyped up character. When they announced Carnage was all the hype, we'll talk a little bit about why Carnage, its abilities from what we can see at the moment, isn't very hype right now. But you know, stuff may change when the numbers get released. Anyway, let's before we talk about Punisher's signature ability, let's get into his kind of his base abilities at the moment. So Punisher is going to have like this battery charge meter. I'm not too sure how it's going to be displayed. I imagine somewhere on the along the lines of like Dormammu's dimensional link, where it's a buff that, you know, goes up to 100. So he's going to have Nanotech battery charge, and he will begin every fight with percentage of max charge. And there are so many like different things that this charge can do, and it's really interesting. So every X amount of seconds, the battery triggers a recharge, and apparently the recharge, it looks like it's going to be scaled on the amount of buffs your opponent has. So if you're dealing with an opponent with a lot of buffs, it looks like you're going to have more recharge available, and that's quite good because that ties into some of the stuff that he can do. And then also an ability that he has is called Disintegration. I believe from reading through his special attacks, this is actually tied into his special attack 3. So X percentage of the battery is drained to disintegrate the opponent, which will deal X amount of damage over X seconds, and reduces their power gain rate by 90%. So if this is a pretty long debuff, which I really hope it is, this means Punisher is going to be really effective at combating a lot of, you know, high power gain Mystic champions, especially in Alliance War. So this seems fairly interesting, but again, if it's based off the special 3, I'm not really too sure if it's going to be a bit too slow. And also, if a disintegrate debuff is placed on the opponent, the remainder of the battery is drained to increase the duration of the effect by X seconds for each X% of the battery that remained. So basically, if you use it when you're very close to 100%, you can, you know, increase this debuff duration by quite a bit and have quite a strong power gimp there. So that seems pretty good. You know, it's not a full power lock, but 90%, you know, that is a really substantial amount. And you know, if we have a look at his special attacks, I think Punisher, in terms of his model as well, is going to be the exact same model and animations as Cable by the look of it, because his special attack 1 is what is it? It's a pistol whip followed by a barrage of hot lead. So that kind of sounds like Cable's special 1, but again, slightly redone in terms of art and animations. The special 2 is an assault rifle burst and then a grenade. I think that's pretty much Cable's special 2 as well. And then final deletion is again your sentence is disintegration. So I think again that's going to be tied to that mechanic there. So I'm a little bit interested about that. But then we have another page of abilities, which is talking about the Nanotech automatic effects. So this is stuff that is automatically going to trigger off your battery. So when the opponent activates a regeneration buff, X% of the battery is drained to infect the opponent with nano inhibitors and heal block them for X seconds, and this debuff automatically reapplies itself if a regeneration buff is still active when it expires. So basically, providing you can keep up to a certain level, it looks like Punisher is going to have a heal block. Very valuable there, because it's going to automatically trigger as well. So yeah, I'm very interested. Like he's got some really cool stuff going on. And also Punisher looks like he's gonna have a regen as well, so when he drops below X% health, the battery is drained entirely, allowing the Punisher to regenerate health for each % drained. So I'm interested to see how big of a regen that's gonna be, but potentially, you know, having that reliable threshold regen that you can trigger off battery. Again, it's another like pro in his book for a good Alliance War attacker. Punisher lands a heavy attack, X% of the battery is drained to stun the opponent, so you can potentially stun on heavy. I'm not really too sure how useful that's going to be. It doesn't sound like something you're going to want to use your battery charge on, but it might not be too bad. And then finally, all shots. So this is, I believe, only based off his special attacks, projectile ones, unless there's something a little bit different in Punisher's standard combo animations, but each round fired drains X% of the battery to activate auto-targeting, which means that enemies will not be able to evade any of your special attacks, and you'll also gain an additional percentage crit rate for them. So yeah, that seems fairly interesting there. Then if we go back to Punisher's signature ability, to talk about that now that we know what the battery is and all that nano stuff. So a last minute upgrade to the Punisher's arsenal allows him to begin each fight with an additional % charge, and also gains a nanotech automatic effect. So I think, I'm not really too sure what that second part of it is, but I don't know what the new nanotech automatic effect is, actually. That's quite interesting. So yeah, I'm interested to find out a little bit more about that one, because again, it doesn't specify at all. But I think Punisher 2099 at the moment, out of these two champions, from what we can see now, seems like the more hyped champion. But again, until we see that MCOC mod video, it's going to be a little bit difficult to tell. However, with that in mind, let's talk about Carnage, guys. Let's go on to Carnage's abilities and stuff. So we're going to start off with the standard stuff here. Let's not go to the signature ability just yet. Here we go. Right, so Carnage kind of looks like, to describe this in comparison to some characters that are already in the game, kind of a mix between like Venom and Ghost Rider. So a kind of Venom that you control the buffs on. So basically the Carnage symbiote changes form, creating weapons and armor which provide passive bonuses based on Carnage's current needs. So when he's struck, he gains armor. When you block, he gains block proficiency. When you heavy attack, it's critical damage rate. When you light attack, it's additional crit rate. When you when you medium attack, it's fury. I assume that's based off like ending a combo on a light or medium attack there. That's what I'd assume anyway. And then when he's struck, you gain additional physical resistance. So there are a lot of buffs going on with Carnage, and if there are certain ways that you can like repeatedly stack them, it might be quite interesting. But there's also a way by using special attacks, you can mutate for X seconds, and once the mutation ends, he copies current symbiotic creations as permanent buffs, and that's a maximum amount of a certain amount of permanent buffs, which I assume is probably going to be 6 based on Venom. I think it's 5, actually it might be 5 or 6, something around that. But again, you can completely control this. So I don't know if there's some sort of way that you can ramp up and just get a ton of fury buffs and deal a ton of damage. Maybe that's going to make Carnage a viable champion, but I'm not really too sure on that. And then also you have crit bleed, so if the target is already bleeding, gain X% chance to bleed, dealing X damage over X seconds. But again, with Carnage, it doesn't look like we have like anything on the special abilities. It doesn't look like we have any utility. That is literally it. So it looks like we're missing at least something that triggers a base bleed. So I'm interested to find out a little bit more about that, because at the moment it doesn't really seem like Carnage has too much going on for him. You know, you just do get these buffs via various combos, and then you turn them into permanent buffs via your special attacks, which again, if it ramps up, it could potentially mean that Carnage has some really insane damage output. But for, you know, a lot of characters at endgame and with a lot of the stuff that you need to deal with, you kind of need a little bit of utility thrown in there to deal with some stuff in Alliance Quest, Alliance War. So yeah, I'm really not too sure about Carnage at the moment, but I'm very interested for the MCOC mod video, because it feels like we're missing like a lot about this character in terms of his description, but he might just be a very basic champion like that. And then finally, his signature ability, basically when the opponent is bleeding, gives him increased power gain. So this is pretty much Venom's ability, but instead of additional crit, you gain additional power gain, which depending on what he does with his special attacks and how those work, might be pretty good. But I'm not really too sure at the moment. Like, I want Carnage to be a really good champion, because at the moment I believe Carnage is going to be a cosmic, and it looks like Punisher 2099. It looks like the way he's worded, it looks like he's going to be a tech character. But then again, you know, Cable, who I think has very tech vibes, was a mutant character, so there's a chance he could fit into the skill tree, but I'm not too sure about that. But regardless of which, it looks like the way that Carnage is kind of set up in terms of his design, it's related to a lot of buffs, and all the characters with a lot of buffs and different ways to get them seem to be be falling in the Cosmic class at the moment, so I think he fits pretty perfectly in there. But yeah, I'm interested to find out a little bit more about the both of these characters. Again, at the moment, I think the hype is very much with Punisher 2099. He looks like a very, very promising character, but we're going to have to wait until the MCOC mod video to get some solid kind of numerical values and a bit more information on Carnage and Punisher before we start making some predictions on exactly how good they are. But so far, Punisher 2099 seems promising for Alliance War Attack. Seems like he's going to be pretty good. And Carnage at the moment, I don't know. He needs a bit more. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, feel free to smash that like button. If you have any thoughts or additional points about Carnage or Punisher that we haven't covered in the video, feel free to leave them in the description. Always interested to get a little bit more perspective on some of these new characters and what you believe they're going to be good for. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's video and have an absolutely fantastic day.